I was initially going to make a video related to Bakugo for my next video, but considering I just did a collab with one of my best buds, Caleb, ranking the League of Villains, I figured it would be better to talk about another topic I had on the side. What if All For One won? Good concept right there. What if All For One won? What? Also, the video I did with Caleb will be in the description down below. So when I'm talking about All For One winning, I'm referring to the most recent battle he had with All Might, not the first one when they were both in their primes and All Might thought he killed him. The second battle in particular had so much significance behind it. The fight was being broadcast on the news so everyone in Japan could watch. All Might found out Shigaraki was related to his master Shimura Nana during this fight, and Japan saw All Might's skinny form for the first time live. Even with everyone seeing his skinny form, people didn't lose their hope in All Might and kept cheering for his victory. All For One coming out on top would have been completely heartbreaking for not only All Might, but for the entire country as well, or at least the majority of the country, excluding villains, of course. The symbol of peace would have full-blown died this time. He did die metaphorically after beating All For One since he wasn't able to maintain his muscle form anymore, but I'm sure All For One would have legitimately killed All Might if given enough of an upper hand at the end of the battle. One of the most obvious outcomes that comes along with All For One winning is All For One escaping from the scene of the crime and still being at large in society. The sole reason the police were able to apprehend All For One after the fight was because the United States of Smash was powerful enough to knock even someone like him unconscious. No other hero would have been able to do that. The gap between All Might and other heroes, even after slowly losing the power of One For All after transferring it to Deku, is incredibly massive. Think of it like the gap between the Nine Tails and the other tailed beast from Naruto. All For One was able to one-shot Best Jeanist, Tiger, Mount Lady, and Gang Orca with a single move. Two of those heroes in the group being in the top 10 in the country. I don't think All For One would have killed anybody else though. He's had legitimate beef with All Might for a while, so it's understandable why he'd kill him. If he really wanted to kill the other heroes, he could have killed Best Jeanist and the other guys right there, but he chose to let them live. Like I said earlier, the majority of the country would be heartbroken over All Might's loss, but the characters that would be the most affected by this outcome in general, without a doubt, would be Bakugo, Deku, and Shigaraki. We know that even with the normal canon outcome that Bakugo was holding on to a ton of guilt for All Might retiring, he thought that because he was kidnapped by the villains, that's what triggered all these events to cause All Might to lose his powers. But after his fight with Deku at Ground Beta, All Might appeared on the scene and reassured Bakugo that it wasn't his fault and he was going to end up losing his powers down the line anyway due to Deku inheriting them. However, with All For One winning, Bakugo would be carrying 10 times the amount of baggage. He'd have the same thought process as before, just so much more severe because All Might would be dead rather than just retiring. And I do want to reiterate that I do think All For One would kill All Might if All Might ended up being helpless enough during the fight scene. All For One implies countless times that he wanted to kill him during and after the fight. Like when All For One got arrested, he was saying, "Oh, All Might, you missed your chance to die during our fight to help your successor grow," stuff like that. The person Bakugo admired the most is dead, and he's going to think it's all his fault. And nobody's really going to be there to help comfort him and help him realize that it isn't his fault other than maybe Deku, but I don't know if Deku would be able to get through to him. Also, Bakugo would have a harder time understanding why All Might chose Deku to be the one to inherit One For All, since that was another thing All Might helped clarify when he showed up at the end of their fight. I'm honestly not sure how Bakugo would learn to overcome this hardship, to be honest. I guess it would just have to be a time-passing thing where it starts to hurt less and less as time goes on. As for Deku, of course, this would hurt him just as much, if not worse, than Bakugo. With All Might being dead, he'd feel like he has no direction or motivation to continue to work harder to become number one. All Might helping him train and Deku wanting to see All Might be alive to see him become number one was a major key in a lot of Deku's victories over the course of the series. One of the most major examples that took place after the All For One All Might battle was Deku learning shoot style. All Might's simple words of just, "You're still trying to imitate me," was a major factor in Deku realizing he needed to stop using his arms so much and try out his legs. Without shoot style, I'm not sure if Deku would have been able to pass the provisional license exam. Also, Deku may have never done the internship with Night Eye in the first place, since Deku had to have a meeting with All Might and Mirio before getting the confirmation to go. With All Might deceased, the internship would have probably never happened. Chisaki wouldn't have been as eager to come out of the shadows to take his plans to more extremes though, because All For One being defeated is kind of what motivated him to take extra action, because he considered All For One to be the kingpin of the underworld and Chisaki wanted to take that spot. Which means the whole team Reservoir Dog incident may have never happened. Well, the team would have still robbed the store, but I'm not totally sure if Overhaul would have been the one to take action and stop them. As for Shigaraki, he still would have had his sensei around to help guide him if need be, but even with All For One still being around, I don't think Shigaraki would have developed as much from when All For One was defeated until we most recently saw him. When All For One was arrested, he said to himself, Shigaraki will be fine, he just needs to use the regret and hatred of the whole situation of losing his master to move forward. I really do believe this helped Shigaraki to improve more as a villain because of how much more hate-filled he became. All For One sort of applied the same logic to All Might, saying he should have left Deku so Deku can move forward on his own and become stronger, but I don't think it would work with Deku like it would for Shigaraki. Since Shigaraki was being motivated off hatred and regret, it was easy to use for villainous development, but I don't think the same can be said for a kid trying to become the strongest hero. That may contradict what I said in my last video about Stain killing Todoroki and Ida, but Deku is always saying, like, All Might, as long as you're around, I feel like I can do anything. So with All Might dead, it's just hard for me to see Deku getting motivated like Shigaraki, at least right off the bat. Of course, we wouldn't see any more scenes with All Might from here on out, which would suck, because All Might's amazing. Even retired All Might is hilarious. All For One would continue to help the League create more Nomu too, I'd assume. Maybe High End would still be created. It's kind of hard to say. How High End was made while All For One was incarcerated is still kind of a mystery, but maybe All For One had plans on how to make High End before he got arrested, so Shigaraki could just kind of work off that. All in all, I'm very glad All For One was defeated. Even though I do like All For One a lot as a villain, him still being at large would make Shigaraki feel less significant. The whole point of Shigaraki's character is just like Deku's, on the side of evil. He's going to be Deku's final boss villain to defeat to become the #1 hero in the main canon story. If All For One was still around, Shigaraki would serve very little purpose and wouldn't even feel like a nemesis to Deku anymore, at least in my eyes. All For One would be at large until Deku gets strong enough to use all of One For All to its fullest potential so we can defeat him. Wow, that was a hard sentence to say. And there's no way anybody else could do it. But I think that's going to be it for this video, though. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please be sure to leave a like down below if you enjoyed. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace out. Take care. Bye-bye.